It is time to trigger myself again. We are going to be reacting to 1-star reviews of some of my favorite movies of all time. And last time, the movies that I did was The Ring, obviously. We did Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, Triangle, Downsizing, and Snowpiercer. So if you want to see any of my reactions to reviews on those movies, check out part 1 that I did a while ago. I really didn't think I'd run into the issue when preparing for this video of, oh, I've already read hate comments for that movie before on my channel. Apparently that's a little bit more common in my videos than I anticipated. I like reading negativity, I guess. Now it's still back to school season, and one of my favorite things was getting new clothes, new notebooks, and getting that new schedule. And while I'm not in school anymore, I still like finding a new routine around this time of year. And Raycon is definitely helping me find that routine and just making everything feel smoother and cooler. So thank you so much to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. Now I have worked with Raycon in the past, and I have one other set of their earbuds, but now they are even better because they have active noise cancellation. It was like the only thing that was missing in their old earbuds, and I love this new compact case. It is so small, fits anywhere. It has a little, you know, keychain holder if you like that. And the battery life on these things is unlike any other wireless headphone I have ever tried. Like, you get 8 hours of playtime on this plus 32 hours of battery. I especially love them when I need to focus because of that noise cancellation feature. So if I'm writing a video or editing a video, I like to use these for that. Also, I'm a huge walker. I go on walks every single day. I walk on the treadmill, and these are just fantastic for that too. The sound quality of the music and the podcast that I listen to is just fantastic. And I would say their audio quality rivals that of bigger audio companies that you already know and love, but for like half the price. Plus, they're super comfortable as well, which is a huge thing for me because I'm more sensitive to that, and they have optimized gel tips to make it a more comfortable fit. So if you want to get your hands on some Raycon earbuds for yourself, make sure to click the link in the description box down below or go to buyraycon.com/possessed to get 20% off site-wide. And a huge thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring today's video. So this time around, I want to get more of a mix of reviews instead of just reading the quippy, like one-liner, jokey type of negative reviews that are funny, sure, but they're not like adding anything to the conversation. And there are a lot of reviewers who do justify their points, or they actually point out things that they had issues about the movie, not just, oh, this movie is bad. And I just feel like that would make a better conversation around reading the negative reviews. There's some jokey ones in there too, don't worry. But I just thought maybe it would be a little bit more of a challenge for me to see if I can even argue with them or admit when they make a good point. So the first movie we're going to be reading reviews for in this video is Last Night in Soho. I don't know why I signed myself up for this because I get offended every single time when people don't like the same movies as me. I'm half kidding. Obviously, we all have different opinions, but some people are really harsh and really mean about my favorite movies. Now, Last Night in Soho is, funnily enough, my most logged movie. I've watched it the most amount of times out of any of the movies that I've logged on Letterboxd. Okay, so this is a 1-star review. Last Night in Soho is an atrociously plotted attempt at reclaiming the giallo as a good for her meme. Now they go on to describe the movie. I'm not gonna read that part of it. You can read it if you like. The haunted flat portal connection between the two stories is a just go with it approach that would be easier to swallow if it leaned more into the terror than an attempted emotional connection. Unfortunately, terror cannot be had with shoddy CGI and an over-reliance on jump scares. I will admit, this movie is not perfect, okay? This is the one where I'm gonna agree with probably more of the reviews than any of the other movies in this video. So I agree, shoddy CGI, totally understandable. Sure, yes. And I feel like the horror in this is very minimal, very good for beginners type of horror. It's not super spooky. Jump scares I feel like aren't too bad. I'm not usually like a huge fan of it. The more that Edgar Wright tries to make Soho resonate emotionally, the more his characters all behave in nonsensical ways. Nothing anyone does makes sense, and everything they do shows the strings being pulled without a sleight of hand. My defense in that is that she is unraveling, okay? She is unwell. She's been hallucinating things, and that's my defense on why she acts that way. I don't know if they're saying that all of the characters are acting that way or acting unbelievable or in nonsensical ways, but that's how I justify that. Nothing alters the set course of these characters, even though certain traumas would actually create distance in human beings. SoHo is a simple puppetry with an even simpler messaging. The messaging is lost, I think. I don't know if he knew what he really wanted to say with this movie, and there are definitely some problematic undertones in it, and we'll talk about that in more reviews. If I made a movie that was meant to appeal to people who had never seen another movie before, I'd at least have the good manners not to make it complete dog shit. Helpful. Edgar Wright finished the Last Night in Soho screenplay, the producer. This is just a Spotify playlist. Edgar Wright, yeah, what's your point? I saw a couple jokes in there about how this is just a Spotify playlist with neon colors in it. And you know what? There is a lot of music, a lot of 60s music, but I think it is all chosen so perfectly for each accompanying scene. And there's an artistry in it, I think, having the neon colors. It's an Edgar Wright film. It's very visually stunning. And then you have the 60s music, and I feel like it just worked so well together. I obviously think it has more going for it than just being a Spotify playlist, but that's a given. What if Showgirls took place in Sherlock's Mind Palace? What if Carnival of Souls had a bunch of Doctor Who CG ghouls in it? That sounds like a great time. Sign me up. This is nominally about women, but in a kind of speculative way, like describing a color that no one has ever seen. I knew going in this was an Edgar Wright movie with sexual assault scenes, montages, set pieces, but I was not prepared for it to deal with prostitution. Put Giallo back in the dustbin of history. Unrelease the Blu-rays. We've had enough. I refuse to believe the same guy shot this and The Handmaiden. Misbegotten, diseased stuff. So yes, there are themes of SA in Last Night in Soho, of course, and prostitution. It's very interesting. And no, I don't think he handled it perfectly. So that's one thing that I do agree with some reviewers on is, yeah, the way that all of that was dealt with, but it never gets graphic. I mean, there are definitely implications, heavy implications, but I don't think it pushes the limit too far. And I don't think it's mishandled in that way when it comes to like the SA undertones. And I've seen some people argue that possibly Edgar Wright is shining a negative light on sex work and prostitution and things like that. And maybe it is to just drive his plot along and drive it home, you know? But this story isn't so fictional. Like, of course it's a fiction story, but I feel like it's still believable in our reality, obviously minus the ghosts. I mean, this film has no right being this poor. It takes some blowing a film this bad with two leads as talented as Mackenzie and Taylor-Joy. Edgar Wright's needle drops felt unusually forced in this film, all the while lifting parts out of the better films and making them uglier with some of the shoddiest CGI you'll see all year. The whole third act and twist of the film is ridiculous and quite reductionist. This screenplay has blood on its hands. What is Wright even trying to say? All due respect, but this is truly a film only a man could have made. Like I've already said, I somewhat agree in some of the mishandlings of this movie. For me, the reason why I love this movie is because it's beautiful. It's very dreamlike, and I love the time jumping, but she's also like time traveling almost. I love that kind of stuff. I'm a Pisces. It just is so dreamy and otherworldly and fantastical. And those are the elements that I really love in this movie. The story with the twist now is questionable. Okay, I agree. The twist is definitely interesting because, again, what is he trying to say with that? Because you have the ghosts, but are they good or are they bad, really? The ghost of the men, right? It feels like he has something to say about that and then completely annihilates it. So I agree, the story is not perfect, but I'm not really watching it completely for that third act. I just really love a lot about this movie. Next up, we're gonna talk about Cuckoo and read some reviews for that. This is probably the most hated movie in my own comments. When I posted my ranking 5-star movies, all the horror movies I've given 5 stars, A lot of people did not understand when I gave this movie 5 stars and definitely disagreed with me. So I'm interested to see what other people are going to say about it. It's called Cuckoo because you drive yourself insane trying to understand how they made a movie that has so many ideas and somehow none of them are good. I thought every idea in this movie was really good. Can someone please explain to me WTF is this movie about? I feel like this would have been 100 times better if they just explained what's going on. I actually really did not mind that they didn't explain what was going on. I think they explained it enough for us to understand the motives of each character and why things are happening. But beyond that, we don't necessarily need to know every single detail about the origins or the history there. I feel like we're just set in this time, in this set of time, and just jumped right into a story in the middle of things, and I really liked that. Yeah, no idea what this is all about, to be honest. It's confusing, lifeless, boring, and has some really dull acting all around. Dan Stevens was such an odd casting. There was some interesting editing and music on display, but overall this was a very forgettable thriller. Wouldn't recommend. Dull, confusing, lifeless, boring. Those are some big words for Cuckoo. Those are heavy words for Cuckoo. Don't understand the dull acting all around, because I think everyone is under the same consensus that Hunter Schafer was fantastic in this. Dan Stevens, I don't even think is an odd casting. I think he killed that role. It made me more excited for the movie because I'm a huge fan of Dan Stevens and everything that he's done. But yet another comment not knowing what this movie is actually about. And I love the mystery of it. I love that you don't understand why things work the way they do and why the monster is at all, or why it is the way it is. Move along, folks. Nothing to see here. I knew nothing about this, and I guessed most of the main skeleton of the plot within the first 10 minutes. Did you? Did you? And then just sat there watching it unfold in the most boring way. I had no expectations whatsoever, but give us a semblance of a real movie at least. Bland, boring, undercooked, embarrassing, pointless, laughable. Man, people coming in with the words, the descriptors for Cuckoo. This movie really pissed people off. Typical jump scares you can see telegraphed 5 minutes prior. Genuinely, I don't even remember the jump scares in this, but I don't think they're too bad. And I'm not like a jump scare lover, you know, but I don't think they're that bad. Thematically hollow and narratively shallow. A collection of moments with no rhyme or reason. Hunter gives an astounding performance, but it wasn't even enough because the rest of the cast was abysmal and had the collective on-screen charisma of belly button lint. Man, I mean, again, we all agree Hunter was great, but how do you say the rest of the cast was abysmal? I think the rest of the cast was so believable as people. I think why so many people are saying similar things in that way is because it is very downplayed. I feel like the acting is a little bit more low-key, which to me makes it more believable. It's not as entertaining to watch on screen, but I think all the side characters were pretty normal. This was frustratingly bad. I went into it with low expectations and thinking all it has to do is be scary or have something moderately interesting plot-wise and I will have a good time with it. I did not have a good time with it. But what you asked for has to be scary or have something moderately interesting plot-wise. How did you not find that interesting plot-wise? It's like a monster that is weird and does weird things to you. I understand if you don't find it scary. I thought it was actually pretty creepy. I don't know if it was like so scary because it did get a little bit repetitive, but I think the first time things happen, it blew my mind and I was very unsettled. The monster wasn't scary at all. Oh. Okay, well, can't really relate to that. I thought it was pretty spooky, but again, it's one of those situations where you end up seeing a lot of it and it does get repetitive with its behaviors of things that are happening. So like, sure, I understand over time it's not as scary. The main character was not compelling. Don't agree. The plot was weird and confusing, and a lot of it depended on characters making inhumanly stupid decisions. I don't even think they made stupid decisions, really. She was a teenager being a teen. Like, she didn't know what was going on. She was making the best decisions for her and what she knew what to do. I thought, you know, there were times where she actually did a good job. So, all right, next up, my deep cut Aniara, my love. This is my favorite movie to recommend to people, and I feel like the negative reviews for this one are going to hurt a lot more than the other ones, because the other ones I can understand why people wouldn't like it and where their negative opinions would come from, but Aniara to me is so beautiful and perfect. But maybe it's just my taste. I don't know. Let's see. This is possibly the most depressing and nihilistic film I've ever seen. It literally makes the Turin horse look like Forrest Gump. I have not seen the Turin horse, and I'm not even sure what that is, but now I kind of want to watch it. Here's the thing though. I do believe that past a certain point, it is in fact morally wrong to create art that is so thoroughly strives to evoke feelings of despair and depression and hopelessness in those who engage with it. Now we're getting into philosophy. You chime in the comments. Is it morally wrong to create terrible, depressing art? Very nihilistic and not a lot of redeemable, happy qualities to it. Is it morally wrong to do that? I don't think so, because I love feel bad movies. People like feel good movies. I like feel bad movies. Okay. At least the Turin horse is cinematically beautiful. I thought Aniara was cinematically beautiful, so I'm not sure what your point is there. At least Melancholia is funny at points. There really can be no such responses to just how bleak and cruel Aniara is. The only people who are going to champion this kind of thing are Scottish speculative materialists, and that is really not a ringing endorsement. I guess I'm a Scottish speculative materialist because I back this movie. I champion for depressing feel-bad movies like Aniara. I hope that at least sold some of you to watch it, okay? It is the most gut-punching movie, but in all the best ways, in my opinion, especially if you like Melancholia and like the dread that you feel when you watch Melancholia. You're gonna get that in Aniara. Imagine Danny Boyle's Sunshine remade by Alex Garland in Swedish. Sounds great. Full of really interesting ideas, all wasted. Okay. The first 30 minutes is an attention grabber. Then it gets increasingly silly. Silly. That's not really the word that I would use to describe Aniara. The space orgy tries to divert your attention from the lack of any cohesive narrative. The space orgy is one of the most disturbing things about it. Before it becomes a disjointed slog to finish, at which point, for no reason I could fathom, pounds your soul into space dust with the utter futility of it all. Choose life, choose sunshine. I actually really liked that review in general because of how they began it and how they ended it. That was funny. I liked that. And I liked how they put all of their thoughts into words. I think that they thought really deeply about why they did not like this movie. So I appreciate that. I respect it. And honestly, they're just driving home why I like it. Although I would not say it's silly. I think there are scenes that are so unsettling that they seem goofy because people are losing their minds in this movie. It is very dark and it is disturbing conceptually. If you put yourself in the shoes of the people on Aniara, Wally on ketamine. I hope that also sells you to watch Aniara because perfect. Yes, it is. This concept is interesting but challenging because there isn't any major conflicts. Okay. Some people think this movie is slow and it's a slog and there's not a lot that actually happens, but I love the close-up that we get to these characters in this scenario to where it does feel like not a lot is happening to them, but a lot is going on around them, if that makes sense. Movies like this need to have great characters, great acting, great screenplay to be entertaining. This has all three of those. So what's your point? This movie did not have that. Oh. Okay. It also tried to be creepy so hard, but it just fell flat. I was annoyed all the time. I feel like it doesn't even have to try to be creepy. It just is. The concept alone is just creepy. Credit last 10 minutes, directed by a child, acted by amateurs, reviewed by morons. Okay, well, obviously you shouldn't have rated it at all if you watched only 10 minutes of it, or you couldn't even last 10 minutes. You didn't even watch it. Why are you rating it? What I expected, bleak existentialist reflective film about being lost in space. What I got, lesbian space opera with grief sprinkled on as an afterthought. I mean, all these reviews are just emphasizing why I like this movie. Lesbian space opera, Again, sign me up. That sounds like a great time. It's not sci-fi. It's a heavy-duty drama. And the space theme is only play pretend for ethical dilemmas. Okay, I will agree that the budget was a little bit smaller, so it's not going to be an Interstellar. Okay, it does take place in space, but we're not getting black holes like Interstellar. Okay, it's not that big of a budget. For me, I just need a couple establishing shots of seeing them in space, and they maintain that throughout the movie. I don't need it to be ultra sci-fi. I don't need any of that. As long as I know they're on a ship in space, I feel like that's enough sci-fi for me personally. The sets are minimal and there's very little effort done to make anything seem futuristic outside of the elevator and the relaxation room. And then of course, from a scientific viewpoint, absolutely nothing about this vessel nor the story makes any sense. I get that it's not hard sci-fi, but even with a budget of $2 million, they could have asked someone to at least make it even just a teeny bit more believable. I actually liked that it was a little bit more grounded and it wasn't a hard sci-fi because that makes it a little bit more approachable for everyone. And we also don't need that. We're from the perspective of a woman on the ship who runs this nature recreation, like artificial nature, because all the nature is dead on Earth. So we get enough science and sci-fi from her perspective and what her job is on the ship, and we don't necessarily need more than that. You know what I mean? Okay, now we're moving on to The Descent. Now this is a movie that I genuinely deem so perfect that I don't think you can hate on it. I really believe that. So we're gonna see. This is gonna be interesting to read these reviews because I don't know. This was so bad. Honestly, I saw so many positive reviews for this film that I really expected a solid thriller, but it is so damn predictable. Okay, I get it. That's a fair point. It is kind of predictable. I give you that. It wasn't scary at all. The creatures were pretty bad, both visually, such an overused and uninspired design, and conceptually. I mean, I get the blind thing since they live in a cave, but their other senses should be way more enhanced. They were right next to the women and couldn't even smell them. And the characters, where do I even start? Okay, first of all, where do I start? The creatures were bad visually and conceptually. I actually love the creature design for this. I saw another review, I think calls him Gollum. I don't get that. I think the design is actually pretty creepy and pretty scary. It was stupid decision after stupid decision, and I honestly couldn't care less if they lived or died. Okay. And I just hated how they turn on each other. There's a scene where one of the girls is calling out to the others, and one of them is like, she's going to attract the creatures to her, and the other is like, as long as it's not me, really? These people are supposed to be friends. Whatever. I think the stupid decisions, quote unquote, in this movie are actually really believable because sure, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. That's been established, okay? Sometimes you need stupid decisions to move the plot along, but everything that they did in this movie I thought was really believable in what you would actually probably do and how you would react in certain ways when you're under duress. Like, how would you act in this scenario? Because I think a lot of us would not be super smart or super geniuses in this. We would panic, okay, and make weird decisions. Why the F is this so popular? So incredibly dull, full of pathetic jump scares. Decided it wants to be a monster movie halfway in. It was a monster movie from the beginning. The goal was to get to the caves to see the monsters. What do you mean? What other type of horror movie did you think it was going to be? Not at all anxiety-inducing like other reviewers seem to think. There is more tension in a Wallace and Gromit film. The characters are all annoying and really I didn't care when they died. Why? You know, are these men? Okay, this is a man. I just feel like when it's an all-female cast, sometimes people don't care if they die. What is it about not caring if they die? Why not? Even Sarah, our main protagonist, and everything that she went through, did we watch the same intro and you still didn't care if she died? If you want to watch a movie like this, but it's actually good, watch As Above, So Below. Okay, I agree with you on that. As Above, So Below is also a good film, but I do think The Descent is slightly better. As Above, So Below gets points for me though for being a found footage movie. Too dark and dated 2000s vibes. Didn't care. Annoying monsters. This is funny because I have said so many times I don't think The Descent is dated. I think it holds up really well and I think it's gonna be a movie that ages really well. I think it'll be a classic in due time. I know it came out, what, in 2006? 2006, right? Oh, 2005. I think, you know, it still holds up today. And it's funny because they say it's dated. Is it dated? Do you think The Descent is dated 2000s movie? Like, you can tell it's 2005. Seen this film years ago when it first came out. Didn't like it then. I still don't like it. Not a huge fan of horror, especially this type. Lots of darkness, women screaming, and loud noises. Oh, I mean, I guess you said you didn't like horror, so I don't really know what I expected from your review. Also found every one of their voices and accents infuriating. Because they're foreign, or... I feel like the film would have been better if it didn't feature a load of golems. If it was just about them stuck down there and trying to get out, it may have been better. I don't agree, but I don't hate the idea. Maybe you should make that movie. You should write a script for that. I think, honestly, it might do well. It's also really hard to try to like any character or feel bad for sheer stupidity going down in the cave in the first place. No sympathy, idiots. I don't even know what to say to that. As I mentioned, it's been established, yes, they should not have gone in the cave. And yes, we, the audience, would see this movie and be like, I would never go spelunking. I would never do that. Obviously, that's the point of the movie. That's the horror of it. The horror is we would never be in that scenario. Same thing when you watch a movie like 47 Meters Down or Fall. We would never do that, right? Well, I mean, people do that. People do go spelunking. But again, feeling no remorse for them at all is just questionable. It's questionable. When I'm in a tired cliche competition and my opponent is a 2000s horror movie. Again, is it dated? Is it tired cliche? Is it? Again, all these girls are so dumb. I honestly don't care for any of these characters, especially Juno. Oh my God. First of all, Juno, that's the point. That's the point of her character. But the other ones, you don't... Is it just me? Am I the only one that cares for the girls in The Descent and like cares for their safety and like wanted them to, you know, obviously I knew what I was signing up for when I watched it, but like, I don't know. I feel like they're not annoying. Let me know if I'm alone, because there are so many reviews of people saying they didn't care if they died and they didn't like them. I feel like we just watched different movies. I don't know. So because I have to do a found footage movie in every single one of these videos, we're doing Grave Encounters in this one. One day we'll probably do Blair Witch, but for now, Grave Encounters. I just feel like found footage movies are so controversial, so we're naturally going to get a lot of passionate people in reviews. 90% of found footage horror movies have laughably bad endings, and this is no different. I don't think I've ever heard a critique for the endings of found footage. I've seen all the cliche critiques of found footage over the years, but laughably bad endings. That's a new one. That was 90 minutes. I think I stepped into the same time warp as the characters in Grave Encounters, because that sure seemed like more than an hour and a half of my life just slipped away. As a found footage film apologist, I understand that there's not always the same need for a full-blown traditional plot, as these are oftentimes just meant to be carnival rides, but this movie starts getting repetitive about 30 minutes in. Okay, you're not a true found footage film apologist if you dislike Grave Encounters. You can't have both. You can't be both. You can't, you can't have that combination. But I understand the repetitiveness of this movie. I think 90 minutes is a perfect length for Grave Encounters, but sure, I somewhat agree with you on it getting a little repetitive over time. I have never seen a good found footage. Great. I can't wait to read the rest of your review. What do you have to say about Grave Encounter if you've never liked a single found footage movie? And yes, the Blair Witch Project is included in this. Perfect. Perfect. Can't they decide whether it's ghosts or a religious ritual? At least the last two scenes formed a pretty satisfying ending. That's hilarious. One person really liked the ending. Someone who typically does not like found footage liked the ending of Grave Encounters, and someone else did not. Laughably bad to them. Edit. Oh, I actually take that back. Creep is an amazing found footage film, and I just remembered it exists. Okay, Creep is a good one. Sure, I will give you that, but you said Blair Witch is bad and Grave Encounters is bad, so I don't really trust your opinion right now. And I hope you know that I'm joking in this video a lot of the time. Okay, I just feel like the need to clarify that. Decided to check out Grave Encounters since I love found footage films. Perfect. Okay, this one I actually really do want to read because you love found footage. Great. Sadly, this isn't one of the good ones. Oh. I thought at the beginning this was going to be really good, but it took a quick turn for the worse. The acting is atrocious, and in my opinion just seems like watching Ghost Adventures, but as a spoof, which is absolutely terrible. Funny, that's exactly what they were going for, actually. So, that's funny that you noticed that. Very slow and boring walkthrough waiting for paranormal activity. That's so very forced. They rely on a few jump scares that are really crappy, and to me seem like it would be like watching those YouTube videos as a kid, waiting to be scared through the computer screen. I know exactly what she's talking about. Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of a funny comparison. I'm not going to disagree with that. The characters are not likable, and I'm sure this movie had potential, but I just don't like the way it was done and how things went. But nonetheless, it had a few decent scenes, and that's about it. I've definitely seen worse, but just wish this was better. Fair. Yeah, I could see why a place like that might be a bit haunted. Let's just put the dumbest people on the planet in there, why don't we? Look, I have had that criticism for some movies, such as The Strangers Chapter 1, where characters just make really dumb choices. Grave Encounters, to me, is not one of those movies. Same with The Descent. Although they should not have been in the cave, we get it. We get that that was the first major dumb choice. After that, not dumb. And Grave Encounters, no, it's not dumb. Maybe they should not have been there in the first place. Sure. But other than that, not dumb. Although it tries to be a parody of those ghost hunter TV shows, it's really just another Blair Witch clone. What part of this was similar to Blair Witch? Literally, what part of it, besides the fact it's found footage? Okay, that's all I got. That's all I'm gonna read. I can't take it anymore. I am just gonna get more and more heated, so we gotta wrap it up. Let me know what movies I should react to in a future part that you associate with me. So like movies that you associate with me that aren't in the first two parts, you know? And we'll do another part of these, because I do genuinely like reading them and trying to like argue with people, having a one-sided argument through the camera on the internet by reading their review, and they might not ever see my video. Actually, it's funny, so many of you commented, or so many of the people who were in my last part of this reacting to 1 star were in my comments talking about their review popping up. And it's like, how did you see it? Were you already viewers? Because anyway, that's all I have for you for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.